Welcome to the Live Explore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sean Payne, and this is the Build Better podcast brought to you by Live Explore.
I'm Isaiah Chass, and today we are going to talk about SB9. It came down the pipeline from the state of California a little while ago, but we're going to talk about what it is and what it's done.
Yep. It was passed in 2021, went into effect January 1st of 2022. I think there was a lot of excitement around this. When we heard about it, we were like, oh, this sounds really cool. And let's talk about, I'll put my soda down for a second. Let's talk about some of the implications and aspects they thought that it would address that way. So jumping right into it, communities are trying to increase housing density. So they thought, SB9 allows for construction of up to 4 residential units on single-family lots, significantly increasing the housing density in residential areas.
And so backing up a little bit, the reason this has come down the line is the state of California has identified a need for a huge amount of homes needed. Yeah. I mean, we've seen data anywhere from 2.5 to 4 million homes needed in the next build cycle. Incredible amount. Local municipalities have not been holding up their side of the bargain with meeting these demands. So The state came down and said, here is a new mechanism that we can basically fast track the process and take some of the power out of the local jurisdictions by allowing homeowners and property owners from adding additional units to their current properties in order to add more housing to the inventory supply.
Right. Yep. So the law facilitates the development of ADUs, also known as granny flats or in-law units, which can potentially provide affordable housing options.
Yeah. By allowing the lot split, SB9 creates new opportunities for different aspects, whether it's a new homeowner, whether it's multi-generational living. I mean, that's really a huge piece of this where someone could add a secondary unit to their property and have maybe a grandparent live on their property, or also maybe as their children are getting older, getting back from college or something like that, where they can have a place. Again, the idea of it is to create more housing. It's just there's a little bit more to that.
Yeah, kind of on that note, we had Paul Fritz, architect and planner in Sebastopol, and he would talk about the granny units that he had put in place, and he gave an example of like every different situation. So there's not like one size fits all. It's just like it's letting the market figure things out and just making like housing more flexible that way. So
right. On that note, though, I think he's done, countless ADU projects. I think he just encountered his first SB9 project.
Right.
So we'll get into that, but that just shows a little bit more about SB9.
That's right.
As opposed
He
to just
used that
ADUs.
For a project. So like as you just touched upon a second ago, this legislation aims to tackle California's severe housing shortage by increasing the number of available residential units. Hopefully, that was the intent. And again, you talked about this housing cycle. Housing cycles are 8 years. So Isaiah mentioned, 2.5 to 4 million. Here, using Sonoma County as an example, they believe from that same report that we need to build 14,500 homes. However, we have local housing authorities here that I feel are much more accurate with their housing numbers, and it's probably closer to 4 times that. We need about 60,000 housing units to meet the current demand, and we're not going to go into those numbers, but those seem accurate, and we've gone through in the past why. So.
Right. Yeah, so SB9, it takes the power away from local jurisdictions from limiting development of new housing. However, I guess the other side is it gives local jurisdictions provisions to adhere to. So the idea is that the local jurisdictions can create mechanisms so that you have to respect existing character of neighborhoods and still adhere to the local building code. So it's not just anything just plop down on the property.
Right. And a big thing that's going on in central planning right now is how to address climate change. And infill, higher density building addresses so many concerns, including climate change. So, through SB9, potentially it was hoped that the law could lead to more efficient land use and less urban sprawl, potentially contributing to environmental sustainability that way. So.
Yeah, and I think they also had a hope that it would generate a little bit more economic activity within local economies through further construction.
Right.
That's obviously a lofty goal or hope.
Just by ADUs, correct.
Right.
But I don't think you can argue the fact that higher density certainly brings in more economic activity.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely faced a lot of opposition and support on both sides. There are benefits of it, but it's not the perfect plan.
No. But it was supposed to simplify the process for approving housing developments, potentially reducing the time and cost investing in to bring in new housing to the market. As we know, it's that time frame, those costs that really kill housing projects. So they're hoping to streamline this and make that process more feasible that way.
Right. So that's the basis behind SB9. Let's get into what it's done, what we've seen, really how effective has it been?
Right. And we encourage you to do your own research because some of this data may be a little bit old, but at the end, we haven't been able to find a whole lot in 2023, but at the end of 2022, it didn't look like it's been used that much, and my understanding is that's the same way it's been in 2023. Los Angeles, the largest municipality surveyed, there were 211 applications for new units under SB9. 211 applications again in Los Angeles County. Can you do a Google search to see what the population is in Los Angeles County? But that's not many applications. And then out of those 211 applications, 38 were approved. So only 38 were approved out of what was the population?
To put that in perspective, the housing units in Los Angeles County as of July 1st, 2022 was 3,642,000. So what's that? Gosh, a tenth of a percent?
Yeah. So 3.5 million homes, and Los Angeles County approved 38 projects under SB9. Now, I wonder how many of those were actually built out. How many were finished? I couldn't find that statistic, but it's going to be a fraction of those 38. And the reason is that as much as this is doing to streamline the process, construction costs are really expensive. So, like I've heard here locally that just on some ADUs, it's costing, $1,000 plus a square foot. So I'd be really curious to see how many of those 38 were built out, but I can almost guarantee you, I bet you it's 25% or less. I could be totally wrong. Make me eat crow on that. So.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line, build costs are just supply chain issues ever since the beginning of the pandemic. It's so expensive to build units. And the reason it just doesn't make sense at a small scale, especially maybe if you're a contractor and you have your own crew. But when you're hiring out to build these projects, I mean, you very easily could be in it 200, 300,000 on the light end. And a lot of people just don't have that capital to make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but as few as those were, Los Angeles was still a win because you have other large cities in California that have very few applications for lot splits or new units under SB9. San Diego only had 7 applications for new SB9 units, none of which were approved in 2022. So I wonder what 2023 was like. And then you have municipalities like Anaheim, Bakersfield, Berkeley, Danville, Long Beach, San Diego, San Jose, and Santa Maria did not approve a single SB9 unit in that year. So again, this is 2022, but that shows you that it's just not working at this point. I know locally here, I think we've had 2 applications in Petaluma,
so. Right?
And I don't think they've been built out. I think at least one SB9 project in Sebastopol, so not a whole. I think maybe just one. I'm not sure if that's the case.
I believe that was one of the first ones.
And then I think
the first one.
There is they're trying to put an ADU using SB9 in Nevada right now, and I believe there's a lawsuit going on that it's felt the city of Novato has misinterpreted SB9. So
Right.
that's kind of like the holdup that way. It's just not working as expected yet. And so kind of let's go through some of the factors that it's facing that way. So.
Yeah. So when SB9 originally came down the line, this might be a little controversial, but it got watered down to a point where it basically it prevented professional developers and real estate investors from utilizing this method of getting an ADU or a JADU or even an additional unit of some sort being built on a property. And really, those are that's a big portion of the type of person or type of buyer that has the capital to make these projects work.
Right.
So when you take that off the table, you're left with, mom and pop investors or just people who own their own house and they're just living on their property, and it's daunting for them to take on a construction project as well as shell out hundreds of thousands of dollars for this, especially if they don't have a reason to have a second property.
Right. Yeah, kind of piggybacking off that, you have SB9 allows local jurisdictions significant discretion in imposing regulations. So while this was supposed to streamline the process, there's still, baseline standards. Localities can pass objective design standards, affordability requirements, land use requirements. And so again, going back to what you're saying, if you're like the mom and pop or like just the local, real estate owner, that looking at those can kind of become complex and like, wow, I just don't even want to deal with this. So even though it's supposed to be streamlined, it really isn't. I think we go back to like Novato right there, as there's an example. Is like, it seems, my understanding is that they've misinterpreted the ordinance, the law, and so it's those type of costs that just keep people from being able to build. So
right, it says this level of discretion has led to a patchwork of implementation across over 500 local jurisdictions, each with their own unique approach. So that just alone goes into each local municipality is interpreting it differently, and that inherently leads to some issues, as we've seen in Novato, and I'm sure many other jurisdictions.
Right. It'll be curious to see what happens with SB9, what happens with future ADU laws. I'm sure there's something in the works, but as housing requirements, housing numbers aren't being met, I think you're going to see that local municipalities are going to have their authority more and more stripped away that way. So we'll see how this plays out. But as of right now, it hasn't worked out too well. So.
Right. Yeah, and there are some programs I see. Various different municipalities are offering grants of different sorts, forgivable loans for some of the construction costs, whether it's pre-development work or entire process. I haven't seen it being highly utilized yet, just because some of the requirements to qualify for these grants just make it you're at an income level to qualify for these grants where at that ceiling income level you're likely probably not able to qualify on the flip side for the cost to finish out the construction.
Right. Yep.
So,
there's a gap there still.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like that's there. Some of those programs are there to help, like we talked about, like the mom and pop, the simple, the traditional, just person that owns a property that way. But it's still, the numbers just don't quite crunch yet.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely, the idea behind it was great to add more housing supply, but California definitely has a long ways to go to make a drop in the bucket.
Yep. So I think the intent was good. Hopefully the state continues to make these efforts. Hopefully local municipalities make their own effort, but historically that really hasn't been there. So hopefully the state continues to step up and try to fix the affordability issue with laws like this, in my opinion. So
absolutely.
Well, that's pretty much it. Unless Isaiah, is there anything else you want to?
No, that's SB9. It can be very, very confusing. Please reach out if you have specific questions about SB9. If we can't answer them, we can point you in the right direction. It can get a little bit confusing between the lot splits as well as the different types of units you can put on a lot versus a property with an existing home or multiple homes on a property. So it is. I'm not surprised if someone's confused, because looking at it myself, who's very involved in this, it's still a very confusing process.
It is. Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like and subscribe to see future content. See you guys later.
See you next time.
Welcome to the Live Explore podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.